everything is a secret. And actually, Georgina, when she was picked, she was just told to go to the airport. She had no idea where she was going. She found out when she got to the airport that, by the way, we're going to Greece. And you're going to be part of America's Next Top Model. And then when she tweeted, 2 months later, she was trending. And there were so many news articles that came out, not just about Bench, but about Georgina. About Georgina tweeting that she was on Top Model. Georgina saying that, because we were all staying in the same resort, and Tyra actually saw Georgina and said, wow, can she stay for Final Runway? But unfortunately, Georgina had to fly back. But, but because we thought, hey, what else can we do to get this little exposure to expand? So it became not just providing an underwear, it's providing a personality, an image that connected to Bench. And that episode was also called the Pinoy Pride episode, which is the dream I've always had working for the show. Is because not only on that same episode, obviously we had Bench Body for the photo shoot, we saw Georgina on camera, and then we introduced to the girls that Michael Cinco returned, because he's so amazing, as the Final Runway designer. And for a Filipino that works for a show like that, I felt so much pride and joy. And it wasn't just me. I felt like the whole country celebrated the fact, because the people, they love the show here. People watch the show, they follow the show, and to see these personalities that we all know and aware of to be part of the show was such a great feeling. Okay, so Cycle 18. That's the year where we had 3 Filipinos featured on America's Next Top Model. First was Oliver Tolentino, who I called the Filipino Valentino. He actually opened Cycle 18. We did a runway show with British Against Americans, where Oliver created these kind of like military looks for the girls to compete in. Next is the architect, Francis Libiran. Now, he created a photo shoot for Hello Kitty Couture. And these are some of the stuff that he did. Now, the one thing that when I was talking to Francis about this idea about coming on America's Next Top Model, doing something for us, is that this does not look like what Francis Libiran does. So, if you're for Filipinos if you're aware of Francis dito sa Pilipinas, it's okay. Because you know what he can do. He's a celebrity designer. But for a global exposure, I didn't want the people over the world who's going to see this episode to think like, is that what he can do? It's just to make Hello Kitty products turn into dresses. So what we thought is like, hey Francis, we should have photos of what you can do as a designer, and we should show it on the show. And we'll talk about it in a bit. Now, another problem that we came up with, when we had Michael Cinco on the show, at the time, it was okay for if you don't have a working visa in the US to appear on camera. Because we didn't know it was a rule that you couldn't. That's why Michael Cinco was introduced. Michael Cinco was there. He got to speak, and people here in the Philippines got to see Michael Cinco. By the time it was Francis's turn to be part of the show, we were told that, hey, does he have a working visa? It's like, no, he's a tourist. He lives in the Philippines. Well, he can't be on camera. So what we expected, that Francis was going to get the same exposure, being able to be introduced, is no longer going to happen. And we found out about this. Francis was already in Los Angeles. Like, he was already in LA. He was retired. He was there. And then he expected that, I spent months creating these clothes, invested a lot of money on being this part of the show, and no longer be part of it. So what we thought is like, well, let's maximize. What can we do? So who's the biggest star in the Philippines right now who, when I think of Francis Libiran, I think of this celebrity? It's Ann Curtis. So I asked Francis, can you get Ann Curtis to model your clothes and give us permission to put it on the show? And she said yes.
Today is Francis Libiran's very special day as we get to showcase his amazing creation on America's Next Top Model.
We made like 4 gowns specifically for this shoot. So each one has a different character.
Filipino dress. So that was pretty amazing. Now on cycle 19, this cycle, some great things happening on America's Next Top Model. You know, that's the thing is when you open that door, especially in media in America, that hey, these kind of people are great on certain things. Everybody listens and everybody follows. I mean, one great example in America I thought was the Indian community, the people from India. You know, back then you never see them in media, you never see them in television. But then one character that's Indian, that has a funny accent, and he owns something, and it becomes popular, then every single show needs to have one of those too. So all of a sudden, you turn on anything that's a sitcom or something that's comedy, there's always an Indian character in there. And I think that's what's happening with Filipinos. Not just with singing, which we all know, every singing competition in the US now has a Filipino singer, but I think when it comes to fashion also, because of what America's Next Top Model has done, Filipinos are being known for fashion. And in cycle 19, Brian Boy is one of the judges, who's a fashion blogger who came from here. And as far as designers, just watch out, because you might be surprised who's going to be on cycle 19 of America's Next Top Model. So now that's with marketing. As far as branding is concerned, I really learned branding from Tyra, you know, and I can't speak a lot about how branding should be about with different, you know, retail stores or whatever your products that you're selling. But what I do believe is that personal branding is as important as the product that you're selling. That if you represent a certain brand, that your brand should match the brand that you're selling. And I think that's what I learned from her. Because it's easy to make decisions if you truly have an understanding of what your personal brand is. It's easy what jobs to take, what kind of ads you should do, what kind of marketing you should do, who should you reach out to, and who you will be honest if you understand what your personal brand is. And same goes with your product or your store. So, what I've learned. So this part I want to talk about what I actually learned in the US that I thought, hey, maybe you guys could be inspired and use that as part of your marketing or branding techniques. Be the first, be the original. I know, in the US, actually, there was this whole thing about pink berry and red mango. Because in Korea, I think it was red mango that came first and pink berry was second. But in the US, it was pink berry that came first, not red mango. So everybody, when the yogurt craze happened, everybody was going to pink berry. And everybody thinks Pinkberry is the original, when it's the other way around. And Pinkberry was more popular, and a lot of celebrities went there because it was the first. Create a cult following. And what I mean by that, like Apple did such an amazing job. I had technical issues this morning because I am a Mac user. And a lot of Filipinos, and a lot of people here in the Philippines are not Mac users yet. But I'm a Mac user because I'm part of that Apple cult. I have an iPad, I have an iPhone, I have an iPod, because they created they branded themselves in a way where you're so attracted to what their positioning is, with their innovation, and even the way they engage their customers. I mean, if you go to an Apple store in the US, they don't really have cash registers. What they have is their product for you to touch, to use. If you want to check your email, if you want to search something, if you want to listen to music, you can do that inside an Apple store. And they have at the same time, all the people that works there can help you talk about their products. And you don't really, if you want to buy something, and you're talking to somebody who's somebody from Apple Store, you could actually buy the product right there using his iPhone with your credit card. You don't need to go to a cash register. So the experience is no longer just like you go in there, you look around, you ask for questions, and then you can't even try the product. You could actually try the product, find out information about that product, and then buy the product right there and then and walk out to the store. Have a face. You know, I think Filipinos here, we all the brands, everybody has endorsers here. Everybody has a face. So I think that we've been doing that for years and we're on the right track. But also at the same time, I think it's unfortunate, you know, because I just moved here and I've been watching television and I watch commercials, and because everybody has